titled it and everything, and I included guests. And so for some reason it told me try again. So I think it might have been live. It was just that I had no guests. I've never done it that way before. Anyway, I don't know. I just picked the late hours of the night to talk about stuff. It's just a thought came to me and I wanted to discuss it with you guys. The title is Lessin The Stressin, Learn the Lesson, Pandemic Mode. And this is going to be in part because of some things that I've noticed with this downtime I've had an opportunity to pay attention to things I otherwise would not be paying attention to. I don't watch mainstream media. I do a lot of YouTube, but even on YouTube, it's inescapable that some of the events that I happen to capture. I didn't know President Trump had a second attempt on his assassination attempt on his life at this golf course, but of course they didn't carry it out. He was exposed in the bushes with a GoPro on and a semi-automatic weapon. And it doesn't matter what political side that you favor. I want to say this right now. If you're chosen one or empath, we don't relish in anyone uh, getting hurt or having harm brought to them. We don't relish that. Or at least our heart does not beat like that. I understand in emotional times we have thought and wished, things that would come upon the narcissist because of what they did to us. That's a natural knee jerk reaction, but organically, we don't study evil, we don't study violence. So, that out of the way, I don't want to get political. I don't want to get into that at all because guess what? That is essentially what is a part of a smoke screen. That's part of a matrix in the totality of our world system, whether you're living in another country or not. That's my take on it. And if you really think about it, you have less control. You have more control over what you can do locally in your community than you will ever have over what you can control or dictate by way of government. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying don't exercise your political currency, which is your ability to vote, your right to vote. Excuse me, guys. I got the lamp fall out and stuff. My face is very sensitive to a lot of things, and the dog is yeah, he's laying over there taking a nap. Every time I play with him, I have limp. So I want to discuss with you guys what I believe is we have one visitor. How you doing? Appreciate you coming in. We have two. Thank you. This is a discussion, and with social media, we all have a voice, unlike ever before. But I believe with when you're granted a voice, you really, really should use it. Um, period. You should use it. That's your God-given right. But in how we use it, it really needs to benefit others. I think for the good, for the common good. Doesn't matter what our beliefs are, whether we're Christian, atheist, whatever. We should want to benefit the common good. And again, chosen one empaths, that's what we're all about. Even more so now that we're awakened from narcissistic personality disorder. We went along to get along. No more are we doing that. We're not fetching the bone. We're not being the wind up doll. We're not just doing what we're told to do or asked to do. We're thinking. We're using our free thought process because it's a very it's a mighty thing to be able to use your God-given gift as a chosen one, to be able to bring about change, to be able to come in a room and to convey an atmosphere where people take notice of you. And when they take notice of us and we have something to say, we need to say it. So, but without laboring this any longer, uh, I took note of the attempted assassination, uh, and I was just flipping through YouTube and I saw, because I was taking a break away from just videos, because I tend to lean way more towards narcissistic awareness. because that is something that from this day to the next. Do you have BBC? BBC TV. Um, that's a British broadcasting station. I used to watch that, and I'm very in tune with that. Thank you, Steve. And if it's something you want to chime in on that you think I should take a note of, I will. Because that and NPR radio, I'm just, I would say, weird like that. And a lot of us empaths and chosen ones, we lean towards information. So just chime in on the chat down there and leave me what you would have me to go and take a look at. I'll be delighted to do that. So back to what I'm saying. In the light of that assassination attempt, then I was strolling along on YouTube a little more. Then I just happened upon this guy that did just and an overcast of people who are not really complaining but have qualms about. I sound like a liberal. I don't know. I don't even take a political position. And after I'm done talking, maybe you would be better able to tell me what you think my political position is. Um, so I saw whereas they said they were just talking about the inflation. That was the biggest issue. And I concur with every single person. Doesn't matter what their uh, tone was, doesn't matter what their obscenities was, doesn't matter. They all had a commonality. The poor are poor and the rich are rich. There is no such thing as this middle class. And what I'm saying to you is many can say whatever they want. If you're middle class and you think you're pretty much, to me, I think the middle class always felt like they were more leaning towards being wealthy or well off than they really were. They just had more bills and more responsibilities than me being in the poor category. That's all you have as a middle class. So don't toot the horn on that, because if you can afford a $500,000 house, $250,000 house, you have very, very extensive amount of bills. Me on the poor spectrum, and I'm not being envious or jealous or anything of that, but don't that's not something to really brag about, because you're stuck in the middle of some sort of sorts. Paycheck to paycheck, as opposed to someone who has a six-figure income. uh, I can remember when I met my second wife, I was making about 80 grand. She was making about 120 as a speech pathologist. So us together was almost, that was 200K a year, give or take. But we were really, from the outside, we had, I mean, a Corvette, had a nice little house in a decent area of nearby here, and up with some of the more higher up people, which we couldn't really deal with or stand because they were just so uppity and we wasn't built like that. Bigger point is, we didn't feel like we were better off than anyone else. We didn't act like we was better off than anyone. And to be honest with you, the bills came in weekly, and we had like a stack of 10 to 20 bills weekly that we had to stay abreast of. So the more we thought we were making, it really wasn't nothing to brag about. And so they were talking about, man, I went in the store, I spent $100 on, basically, you carry it out in your hand. And right there, I empathized with that, because I did that once upon a time, not long ago, this year particularly. And I was able to carry $100 worth of grocery in my hand. It didn't even fill the bottom of my cart. And not to mention, if you try to eat healthy, you're done. And so, no, the wealthy are not feeling that. They're not wondering where they're going to get the money to pay for grocery. So, in listening to that, and then with the assassination attempt and a few other things that I don't really want to go into detail about, and it kind of, it escapes me at the moment. So coming full circle to why I want to make this video of lesson the stressin, learn the lesson. When you came out of narcissistic personality disorder abuse, they're very unfrugal, they're very wasteful, they're very reckless, spontaneous, impulsive, all of those things that we shouldn't be. especially in this day and in this moment, whereas inflation is affecting everyone, rich and the poor. But the difference, like I said, is the rich, they're not having sleepless nights. They're up 2, 3 in the morning just watching whether their stocks are rising or falling, or they have their eye on that boat that they want to see if it's come in on their order, or that car. So there are things coming out of narcissistic personality abuse that I see myself uh, as being a blessing and a lesson. And I'm basically I'm going back on COVID pandemic mode. And what that means is, before the storm, we should behave like the storm is already here. Start cutting the fat, start becoming disciplined with what you do, with your time, who you give your time to. Become very frugal with uh, how you spend your money. You don't have to tell anybody what you're going to do to cut back. Now, that's the bad thing to do. Once you start uh, telling your friends and family this is what you're deliberately doing, believe it or not, the energy around you will attract itself to you to see that you do anything but that. So you keep this to yourself, and you begin to cut different things out of your own life that you know that you want, but you really don't need. And this has been a life changing experience for me here, breaking my foot in 3 places, having to go to through surgery. And mind you, my foot was broke for 3 weeks before I had the surgery. The surgery could have been done quicker, but I was sort of taking an extra week to think it through whether I wanted plates, pins, and screws in my foot. I was in hopes, wishful thinking, and praying that the the bones, 2 of the 3 bones would, which 2 of them was offset. I was kind of praying that they would set themselves back in their proper position to a strong degree. And when I went into surgery, they had pictures of my foot all around this surgery room, and it seemed like the foot was literally almost healed. And at that point, I got thinking, man, I wonder if I can tell them don't do this. And at that point, I think I was under anesthesia, and I was probably on my way out, out of consciousness. So on the other side of that, I just kind of like I just gave my opposition up and just decided, hey, I'm here. And so they did the surgery, and I now have plates, screws, and pins in my foot. I haven't been able to see it because I have a big, big wrap on it, almost like I did before. I'll show you guys real quick. So I've been on bed rest for a week, and it's kind of like it's been a life changing moment for me to say, man, and I said this on another video, to slow down, to take time, not only just for me and to set my priorities in order, but to really consider how much of what I was doing I don't need to do. How much of what I have, or the things that I'm desiring, how much of it do I need and don't need? And I'm almost in the mindset of an Amish, because I grasp things on how people move. I always pay attention to people's lifestyles. I always have. And it was a time when they were considered weird. But now I bet you everybody and their grandmother is trying to find an Amish spot to go get honey, to go get corn, to go get the fruits and vegetables that they would normally go to the grocery store and get. Everybody, believe it or not, do want the lowest price when it comes to groceries. And in times past, most people never really notice. You have a lot of people go in the grocery store to just get what they need. They don't really pay attention to what is there. I mean, the price. Now, I guarantee you, a lot of us are really, really gauging price, because it is nowhere around it. You have to know what something is going to cost. cost because you only have a certain amount of money to get this. Now, I have not felt like talking about this openly to other people, but I have griped about it since, I don't know, somewhere around the beginning of the year, and I was speaking in the air in times, uh, at times, and I don't think a lot of people really reciprocated their thoughts on it. And I think everybody's feeling it now, whether they're reacting, responding, or even verbalizing it. This is a silent depression that I believe is overcoming a lot of people. So be careful in that. Be careful. You're coming out, or you've come out of a narcissistic personality disordered relationship. That has knocked the wind out of the strongest person. Only people who've survived that know. That's like coming out of a 12 round boxing match, almost like being underwater for 10 minutes if it was a reality. You can't measure that abuse to anything that we've experienced before or even after. A lot of people have said a death in the family is light work compared to this. So to capture all of what I just said, just note that lessen less the stress in your life by way of cutting back on things, not relying on people just because you don't want to be able to do certain things yourself or you don't feel like you can. And I'll give you another good suggestion because I know a lot of us, we have our hustle and bustle. We leave work, we can't wait to leave work to go and do our thing, to have some me time. If that me time doesn't involve family, meaning specifically your children, and supporting their sporting events or whatever else that they have going on. Like I have twins, they're both in sports. So on any given time, have to be different places, or I would like to be at all of their events. And my son has a football game Monday. I hope to be there, which is tomorrow. I shouldn't, but I'll attempt, and we'll see what happens. But the thing about the me time, we really need to consider what is that? Do you really need to leave work ne- and neglect going home because you feel like you need that downtime? And I'll tell you, girls, don't feel like you got to get your nails done every other week or every week because one nail chipped. You got to go in and get it fixed. You got to do this. Get on pandemic mode. Uh, Aspire to try to see if you can do your nails at home. I'm not saying neglect your personal hygiene, or what you would call that, your self care. But there are ways around the things that we are doing, and we need to seek those routes out because the money that a lot of us are spending, we really don't have to spend it. And you guys, I'm a big tool guy. It's no secret. I think I have enough tools. And I talked about I would get a new tool from the hardware store because I didn't take the time to find the other tool. With this downtime, not being able to go out and do jobs, I really need to negate it to organizing some of the things that I can and do have already. So I'll be aware of what I have. Because to go out and buy a tool that I already have, and then in many cases multiple drills and stuff, it is very illogical to keep doing this. Even though I said I don't really feel that I'm in much more of a dire situation than a lot of people. I do seem to be blessed enough to have means to make ends meet, but that's not going to be always. I need to act as though, I don't have $2 to rub together. And I don't want to wait until things get really tight. And with this injury, it may in fact come to that. So I need to be preparing to both my mindset and my financial My financial position needs to change as to how I spend money, how I use money. And so I really want to talk to you guys about this. Reconsider, lessen the stressing by way of being concerned about, overly concerned about politics, overly concerned about things you cannot control, overly concerned about things that don't pertain to you and not and are not benefiting you. And it's a habit. We all do it. Um, lessen your time on television if it seems to take you away from uh, your commitments, your responsibilities, your obligations, your priorities. I mean, you can do it. If you can't do it, nobody can. You're the only one can change this. If husband is badgering you about it, wife is badgering you about it, and you know that this is something that is in need of, overhaul, don't continue to allow people to have to remind you and me of something that we know we can only do on our own, and we're the one that can determine whether it gets done. Don't put yourself in a position where you have to be pressured to do anything. Do it on your free will. Do it in good conscience. So a lot is going to happen here in the next month, um, coming up to the election, and I won't tell you who I'm voting for. It doesn't really matter, but I will exercise my vote, and I will vote, and I encourage you guys to vote as well. Uh, it's just sad, it was a briefing that came on as well, and that further solidified my reasons for coming on live. It was essentially the CIA that came in and they talked a little while and briefed America on the fact of this assassination attempt and how um, we need to stop saying certain things in media, and the existing president and the existing vice president used words that they really truly believe um, loaded the gun of sorts towards these sound bites. It caused these people to believe that narrative. And it doesn't matter how you feel about a person, some things we think we shouldn't say, especially if we believe it's going to put someone's life in danger. And we definitely need to be responsible with this kind of stuff. Uh, and social media has given everybody a voice. And everybody who has a voice on here, it's just, it's very sad. Very sad. If you're not going to benefit someone in a positive way or in a better way, even if you're just on here doing comedy, that can be very harmless, and in many cases it can be harmful. You have to decide that. So I want to wrap this up because I'm at 23 minutes. I didn't really want to stay on long, but I really wanted to press on this because it is something that we all need to consider. And if you don't consider it on your own, um, you got to ask yourself, what are you really doing for society? Are you just sitting around waiting for bad things to happen, and or causing bad things to happen, wishing bad things to happen? Empaths, chosen ones, we're not built like that, and we really don't think like that. And if we do, we really should exercise our empathy and the fact that it doesn't mean we're gullible, but our empathy causes us to be game changers, and we need to start exercising that. So with all of that, guys, you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Wake up with renewed awareness on Monday, and enjoy the rest of your week. With that being said, bless.